to Gav Goes In. Guys, how are you all doing today? Good evening. Big up to Lumi. Big up to Toxic Fiery as well. Let me just adjust this, guys. I can't really see properly. Yeah, guys, listen up. Big up to Arsenal and Pakistan cricket team as well. Um, you know what, guys? Where to start? Obviously, I did want to touch on Rodrigo, which I will do. And you know what? I'm actually stuck for words, guys, because I think throughout the whole season, the whole summer window, should I say, big up to Lewis Jackson as well. Big up to everyone coming through. Big up to Gamer. And you know what, guys? I've been saying since the start of the summer, for me, Alexander Isak, I can't see him going anywhere but, I can't see him doing anything but staying at Newcastle. Obviously, the bid has come in today, and we're going to get onto that after because, as I said in my description, I think it's weird because I think this Isak story now coincides with what I want to talk about with Rodrigo. Big up Gamer Man says looking fresh. Yeah, listen. Yeah, haircut today, man. Needed it 100%. Guys, whenever I'm wearing a hat, just know it probably means that I'm probably due for a haircut. So but big up yourselves anyway. Big up to Sham each and every time as well. So Gamer says you look like you're from the 101 Dalmatian. Yeah, big up, man. Big up. Listen, this is one of my favorite jackets, man. The thing's so comfortable. So yeah, man, it's just nice and warm, man. So yeah, obviously just come back just now, just got in a little while ago, and obviously, you know what I mean, give you guys the content as usual. So yeah, big up yourselves for coming through. And guys, as always, when you come through, make sure you smash that like button and make sure you sub to the channel as well. Big up to Toxic Fiery. Big up, bro. Big up, man. So guys, listen. Let's talk about Rodrigo. A player that for me, I've spoken about this a few times. And guys, as always, if you keep putting your comments in, keep putting your questions in as well. I will definitely get back to all your questions and to your comments once I've discussed what I'm going through. And mods, if you just want to just obviously let people know as well, if they've got a question to ask me or if they've got a comment to make, I will definitely get back once I've finished talking what I'm going to talk about. So, as I said, Rodrigo, guys, a player for me that I believe is one of the best players in the world. I definitely think he is a player that's been, and again, I think a lot of people are probably kind of clocking onto it now a bit more. He's a player that's been stifled at Real Madrid, in my opinion, because as you should know, Rodrigo's not actually a right winger. He's actually a left winger. But just in terms of with the likes of Vinicius Jr. being there and obviously now Mbappe, I think it's obvious that Rodrigo has to leave for me, because big up to Daniela Iacona as well, each and every time. Yeah, for me, I just think that Rodrigo, a player of his ability, needs to be a star at any team. And I think if we're talking about bar Real Madrid, bar Barcelona, I think personally he can go and be a star at any other team in the world. I think he's that good, Big up to Ryan Campbell. Big up, bro. Big up each and every time. Yeah, I think that's more of a hope, Ryan Campbell, that he's going to Arsenal. That's more of a hope, But yes, listen, we got to get on to your team a bit later. Lumi, if you're in the chat as well, we're going to get on to your team a bit later. Because who would have thought, Tottenham getting another trophy ahead of Arsenal? Who would have thought that, But again, it's not, trophies ain't for everyone, But big up yourselves for coming through. And as I said, I'll get back to each and every one of you after. So yeah, guys, Rodrigo for me can go and start for any other team in the world. I believe he should be starting for Real Madrid, but I'm just looking at this three at the back system that Xabi Alonso might play. I don't think it's a guarantee that he's gonna do that. But if we're looking at Bayer Leverkusen, what he done there, I think it's a good bet to say that he's going to be playing with the three at the back. And if he does, I'm not so sure Rodrigo should figure. I think he should, 100% with a player of his quality. But as I've mentioned previously, what Xabi Alonso done with Bayer Leverkusen, and when he had a left-footed player inverting from the right-hand side, Rodrigo's obviously right-footed, so he's not going to fit that slot comfortably, which is why I think the likes of Arda Güler, even Franco Mastantuono, that was recently signed as well, they've got a better bet of playing on that side purely because they're left-footed. And I think if Xabi Alonso goes that way, and does similar to what he done at Bayer Leverkusen, again, I think the writing's on the wall for Rodrigo. And as I said, a player of his quality, there's no way he should be on the bench. So, but again, there's been news from yesterday that I see, that if he indicates to Real Madrid he wants to go, as we kind of expected anyway. Real Madrid are looking at 100 million euro bid, which is about 80 something million, I think it might be, which I think is fair for Rodrigo. I think if he indicates he does want to move on, then I think, yeah, that would be more than enough, I believe, to get him out of there. And as I said about Rodrigo, I think the fact that many people actually think he's a right winger, I think it just shows you really how disrespected he is as a player. Because if he's at any other team, you'd assume he's going to be playing on that left hand side, 100%. So yeah, I think he has to leave there now, and I think over the next couple of weeks, I think we should see some movement on Rodrigo. Whether he comes out and says he wants to stay, if he does generally want to stay at Real Madrid, then fair enough. But I think his career is going to stagnate if he stays there because again, he's someone that needs to be in the limelight. He needs to be the main focus of a team. The star man. And I think some of the other teams that he's been rumored to be going to, I think it's safe to say now that he's not going to be going to Bayern Munich. Obviously, they've signed Luis Diaz for 65 mil, so that's out of the question. So the only realistic teams I look at now of getting Rodrigo is Man City and Chelsea, and I'm going to bring Liverpool into that as well because there's been reports that Liverpool are actually looking at him. And again, this coincides with what I've obviously we've obviously the news today about Alexander Isak, because I don't want to say this, and it's going to hurt me as a Man United fan to actually say this, but I've got a feeling that Liverpool are going to either sign Isak or Rodrigo. I think one of the two might actually end up at Liverpool. You know, who that's going to be, I'm not too sure because they've got Luis Diaz. Obviously, he's now gone. There's obviously talk about Darwin Núñez as well. So I think Liverpool, they're showing that they've got the money. So whether Newcastle can hold out firm for the Isak, for Isak to stay, because again, Newcastle don't have to sell him because again, he's got 3 years left on his contract. He's they've come out and said he's gonna be 150 mil. So you'd have to say it's gonna take something massive because even though Isak has made it clear he wants to move on, Newcastle don't need the money really, and they don't need to sell. So it's gonna take something massive to get Isak out of there, and whether they can hold firm, and Isak ends up, building bridges with Newcastle. I think that's a long shot, but it's something that could actually happen. But for me, I think if they don't get him, then they're going to be in the running for Rodrigo. And I think as well, the fact that the Liverpool have offered 110 million plus add-ons to Alexander Isak. Again, that bid was never going to be accepted. But as we know, it's about just getting the ball rolling, and again, a second bid's to be expected. I think if Liverpool have shown that they can offer that money, um, I believe if Isak doesn't get out of Newcastle, well, I can see Liverpool just splashing that money on Rodrigo. Because I can tell you this now, I reckon if Liverpool was to offer Real Madrid the same price that they've offered for Isak, I think Real Madrid accept it. That's my opinion. I think they actually accept it. And this is why for me it coincides with Alexander Isak. Because I think out of the two, one of them could end up at Liverpool, you know. Um, so yeah, it's gonna be interesting, man, to see what happens. And guys, let me know what you think. Let me know what you think. Do you think Alexander Isak? Do you reckon? I'm sorry. Do you think Rodrigo ends up in the Premiership, or do you think that or do you think that he stays at Real Madrid and fights for his place? I think if he stays there and fights for his place, I don't. I see him. I don't see him doing much there. I see him being in the same position, because Vinicius Junior and Mbappe looking like they're not going anywhere. And as we know, Vinicius Junior's asked for a new contract. So it's one of them things where if they're not going anywhere, then Rodrigo, for me, has to be smart and think to himself that he needs to move on for the betterment of his career. But yeah, let me know, guys. Let me know what you think about Rodrigo. Do you think that he's someone that will make the move to the Premier League? Because I'm looking at all the teams around the world, and he's already in Spain playing for one of the biggest teams in the world. So he's not going to go Barcelona, which again, I think I mentioned this, was it yesterday or the day before. If he was to end up at Barcelona, I mean, you'd have potentially the best attack in world football. I know Lewandowski's getting old, but Lewandowski's still scoring goals. So I think obviously he won't go to Italy. Germany's out of question now with Bayern Munich. So the Premier League is the obvious one. You know what I mean? So I can see that happening. But it just remains to be seen whether what he does. Whether Real Madrid are gonna try and force him out, or whether he says to them, look, he wants to move on. But yeah, I said, let me know. And guys, big up to all yourselves as well for your votes on the recent post that I've been doing. So yeah, there's some good posts I've been doing. So obviously the most recent one was what was it? So the most recent one was who's more likely to go to the World Cup with their national team, Jadon Sancho or Alejandro Garnacho. And again, some good responses there. And again, these posts are just designed really to get you guys thinking. Because there's no right or wrong answer. We can always debate it out, but it's good to see people's differences of opinion. And again, the recent one of who's the better football player, Eden Hazard or Mo Salah. I think last I saw it, it was 51 to 49 in favour of Eden Hazard. And again, I'm gonna go with Eden Hazard for many reasons. So yeah, if you guys haven't seen the posts, the recent posts, make sure you guys give that a check, and as I said, vote and let me know your comments as well, and let me know what you think. So just moving on now, obviously Alexander Isak, as we've seen, as I've just mentioned, Newcastle rejecting the 110 million bid plus add-ons for Isak. And as obvious, that deal was never going to be accepted, but as I mentioned, it's one of them things where Liverpool just want to feel out Newcastle to see what it's going to take, and it's definitely going to take that 150 mil. I think Liverpool's second bid, I reckon their second bid will be about 120, 125, plus about 10 mil in add-ons, which again will get rejected in my opinion. Because I think what Newcastle want, and again, Newcastle have already said that that he's not for sale. And as Gamer said, Isak put his house on sale, I heard. I mean, he can do that all he wants, but the power's in Newcastle's hand because he's got 3 years left on his contract. So I think if Newcastle get a bid of 150, who's to say they even accept that? People will say they'll be foolish for not accepting that, but I think, to be honest with you, they might not even accept that bid. So yeah, I think it's one of them things really that they're not forced to sell, and unless Liverpool come up with at least 130 up front, I believe, then I think Newcastle gonna just keep rejecting the bid, and whether it gets to a point where you know Liverpool stop bidding, who knows? But I think the first bid was obviously always going to get rejected, and I think Liverpool actually knew that anyway. But I think this second bid, I think gets rejected as well because I think Liverpool are only going to offer probably an extra 10 million up front, which I don't believe is going to be enough because I think Newcastle just want that 150, and whether it's yeah, whether it's to reach that. Sorry guys, I just see a comment in the chat. Big up to Arnav, says body count, bro. Body count. One. Yeah, one body count, man. Big up. But yeah, so yeah, as I said, I think unless they come in with a more serious bid, then yeah, I think it's going to be a tough negotiation for Liverpool. And again, they might even turn their attentions to Rodrigo. And as I said, they've shown now with the bid for Isak that they've got that money. And as I said, who's to say that they might not use that on Rodrigo if Newcastle just say, look, he's not going anywhere at any price, So that's one to watch, man. I think it's going to be interesting. But I have to say, guys, I'm actually, as a Man United fan, I'm frustrated because who would have thought Liverpool come into this season? And I think from what I see today, I think they've spent something like just short of 300 mil. I could be wrong. They've got Verts, Ekatike, Frimpong, Kirkez, and a couple of younger, Woodman on the free and a younger player for relatively a low price. So yeah, man, who would have thought that Liverpool would come into this window and still they want to go and spend 120 or 150 on Isak? It's crazy business, man. And this is the kind of intent that most teams need to be looking at, man. And Liverpool are just showing everyone, that they've just won 20 titles and they want that 21st. They want the Champions League, and you have to respect it. As much as I want to hate, you have to respect it, man, that they're actually going all out to secure back-to-back title wins, man. And it's crazy. Because again, I've been saying at the start of the summer, there's no way I can see them getting Verts and Isak in one window. And it's looking like they're on their way to doing that. It's crazy, man. Absolutely crazy. But big up, guys. Come on, we've only got 6 likes on there. Smash the like button if you're in the chat. It's just one press of the button. And again, if you haven't subbed to the channel, make sure you do as well. I'm gonna go through all your questions, guys. But big up yourselves each and every time. So big up to Lumi each and every time. Lumi says, what do you think of this Isak saga? And do you think Liverpool could chuck in any player to sweeten the deal? I see Harvey Elliott doing well as a barcode. As a barcode. Oh, okay. Black and white. Okay, I get you, Lumi. Yeah, big up Lumi. What I can tell you about Liverpool in Newcastle, I don't think Newcastle would accept any player in swap. I think it's very obvious that they don't want to sell Alexander Isak. And I think if Liverpool come up with, a bid that either reaches 150, or an upfront payment of 140, let's say, with a 10 million add-ons to make 150, then yeah, I think Newcastle, they could accept that, but again, they don't have to. So this is the thing. But I think in terms of getting a player in exchange, which means Liverpool pay less money, I don't think Newcastle are interested in that. Because, again, you have to think, they're losing their best player, their key goal scorer, and the only way they're going to replace him is by, and again, it's not easy. Again, they've been linked with Benjamin Sesko, Nicholas Jackson, and I think they heard Ollie Watkins as well. But are these guys going to score the same amount of numbers as Isak? It's unlikely. So the only way he gets out of Newcastle, in my opinion, is if Liverpool offer something that Newcastle just can't refuse. Whether it's above 150, who knows? But I think it's one to watch, man. I think Isak's made it very clear he wants to go, and I'm surprised, because I thought his relationship with the Newcastle fans, I thought he would have showed a bit more respect than that, or a bit more togetherness with the fans than leaving like the way he is. But Newcastle hold all the power, really, because Isak can go on strike, he can do whatever he wants. He's still got 3 years left on his contract, and as we know, Newcastle are one of the richest, if not the richest club in the world. So they don't have to sell him, really. It's one of them things where they just might get an offer that they can't refuse, and then they might look at it and say, they might not get this offer for a player ever again. So it will come down to that, I believe. Big up Lumi. Lumi says, rumours of Donnarumma are heating up. Would you take him? His wages would be ridiculous, but he elevates your team. Listen, no doubt. Gianluigi Donnarumma, for me, made his debut at 16 for AC Milan. I think he's now, 26, so 10 years strong in the game. And again, he's one of the best keepers in the world. I think if we're looking at the 3 best keepers in the world, you're looking at Courtois, Donnarumma, and Alisson. I think they're the 3 keepers that everyone would say is the best 3 keepers in the world right now. And, am I surprised that he's leaving, or there's rumours of him leaving PSG? I am and I'm not, because, if you look at the way Luis Enrique plays, Luis Enrique likes a ball-playing goalkeeper, which is why he's signing Lucas Chevalier, French international as well, from Lille. So you can see what he's looking for, and he's a left-footed goalkeeper as well. So you can see what Enrique's probably looking for, and the fact that he signed Chevalier, I think it more or less means Donnarumma's going to be on his way, and not because Donnarumma isn't a quality keeper, but if you look at the wage that he wants for a new contract, and the fact that he's not a ball-playing goalkeeper as well, I think, Luis Enrique would like to keep him, obviously, but if it's a case where he wants to push for a move, I think Enrique would look at the fact that he'd rather a ball-playing goalkeeper, even if it means losing a Donnarumma. So yeah, that's what I think. But I heard obviously United want Donnarumma. Am I taking it seriously? I am, and I'm not, because Donnarumma, if he comes to Man United, then the pool of Man United really is showing this season. But again, a player of his level should be playing Champions League football. So whether he wants to give up Champions League football, because let's get it right, if he does leave PSG and doesn't go to Man United, he's going to another team that is in the Champions League. So really, it's his call. It's either he stays or he goes. But his wages will be high. I think he's on about 200 grand, I believe, at the moment, I think, at PSG. And he's going to want something similar to his new club. Can I see Man United paying that for a goalkeeper again? I can't. So whether he's got his heart set on going to Man United, remains to be seen. But I think, if I'm honest with you, I can see him ending up at Chelsea. I can see it being Chelsea because, as we know, Chelsea are looking for a world-class goalkeeper, and they've got one of the very best right now available. So I think personally, Chelsea might even come in for him. I think his wages might be a problem, but Chelsea might just come in and say, look, we're going to give you more or less what you want, because it's a position that they will look at as improving in the future. Because Robert Sanchez has had a good Club World Cup, but Robert Sanchez is not better than is not on the level of Gianluigi Donnarumma. So that might be one to look at. So Toxic Fiery says, Gav, I heard on TalkSport that Man United is starting to talk with Benjamin Sesko, but I don't know if there's an official bid yet. Yeah, so there ain't no official bid yet for Sesko. Um, I think Sesko's. I mean, well, Man United are waiting to see who Sesko's preference is, more or less. You know what I mean? So there's talk about his preference being Man United over Newcastle, but yeah, I think it's more of a case where I think both Man United and Sesko are probably waiting for each other. I think United are waiting for Sesko to indicate clearly that it's United and no one else. And I think Sesko's probably, deciding between obviously United and Newcastle, probably what offers the best package or what's going to be better for his development. It's only that really. So, and guys, I'm going to reiterate, I don't really want Sesko. I'll be honest with you. Like, as I said, I think was it yesterday, my stream yesterday or day before. As I said, I think the fact that Man United, well, let's look at Newcastle. I mean, let's look at Liverpool for instance. I know Liverpool, Man United they're at different ends of the of the table, really. You would say in terms of transfers and in terms of where both teams are at the moment. But you got one team going for an Isak and potentially a Rodrigo, and then you got one team going for a Sesko. And it's, for me, it's underwhelming Sesko because there was talk about United getting a proven goal scorer in, and now because Gyökeres has gone to Arsenal, Osman's obviously stayed at Galatasaray. All of a sudden, it's Benjamin Sesko's name that everyone is talking about now. And again, let's not forget, this guy has only scored 13 goals in the Bundesliga. So for me, it's just crazy that Benjamin Sesko is the player that, seems to be the striker that United are going for when you've got the likes of Mateta, Visser, and Ivan Toney, who are all experienced in the league to start with, and who are all available. But on the other hand, if United get Sesko in and Rasmus Højlund goes the other way, then as much as I don't really want Sesko, then I would be satisfied at that. But I think one of the two has to happen. If Sesko does come in, Højlund has to go out. Or if that doesn't happen, then I don't really want Sesko. So we have to wait and see what happens there. But yeah, I'd much rather United go for someone that's already in the league, a bit more proven. And then once you get back to the level that you should be at, this is when you start identifying other targets. If Sesko's still doing the business elsewhere, then fair enough. This is what should be happening. But again, United, I'm not sure what's going on at the moment, but big up Toxic Fiery, man. So Arsenal and Pakistan cricket team says Rodrigo has less GA than Rice. But what's that got to do with anything? Rodrigo has less GA than Rice. Yeah, but again, GA is not everything, man. Like, because if Rodrigo goes to Arsenal, which he's not going to do, he instantly becomes your best player. So what does that mean? If Rodrigo goes to Arsenal, which is not going to happen, he becomes Arsenal's best player automatically. So all this GA talk makes no difference, man. Who cares? What did Declan Rice's GA get Arsenal season just gone? Because he wasn't no league title, it wasn't no Champions League, it wasn't a Carabao, it wasn't an FA Cup. So again, it doesn't make a difference really what GA he got. It didn't amount to anything, So yeah, big up gamer, man. I'm just reading your chat, man. A PIMP hat. Yeah, listen, man. I got a few hats, man, but not with that on it. So Gamer says Liverpool should leave Isak and use that money for Rodrigo. And as I said, I could see that happening. I could actually see that happening. If Newcastle just remain firm on what's happening with Isak, then, as I said, Liverpool have shown they've got that money, and that's the money that could get Rodrigo out of Real Madrid. And guys, if I'm honest with you, and let me know as well, and I might even do this as a post as well once we finish the stream. Do you think that it's better Liverpool going for Rodrigo rather than Isak? Because again, they've brought in Ekatike. You know, Luis Diaz is now gone. You've got a Cody Gakpo that can play through the middle as well, um, as well as Salah if need be. So is it more beneficial to go for a Rodrigo than an Isak if Newcastle remain firm on their asking price? You know, that's one to think about. So Ryan Campbell says he's going to Arsenal in your dreams. Listen, listen. When you guys are signing Noni Madueke, yeah, you can't have Madueke on one flank and Rodrigo on the other. It doesn't make any sense. So let's just dead that rumor about Rodrigo ever going to Arsenal. It's not going to happen. You know, Madueke is where Arsenal messed up because you don't go and get Madueke if you want to really challenge for a title or a Champions League. You know, it's an odd signing, but again, that's their problem, man. That's their problem. Uh, Rodrigo is outshone by Mbappe and Vinny. He does a lot for Madrid, but always outshone. I agree. I agree. And on pure ability as well, he's the most talented one out of all them. But again, when it comes to PR, you know, and the status in world football, those two are ahead of him because it's marketability as well. And if you look at Rodrigo is very marketable as well. But I think Mbappe and Vinicius Jr., I think they're a bit more. Again, the likes of Jude Bellingham is there as well, which I can't believe. You know, I think they're just being pushed to the forefront ahead of Rodrigo. But yeah, it's crazy, man. It's crazy. Who knows? Rodrigo to Fenerbahce. Yeah, right. I heard a Liverpool fan saying that Rodrigo doesn't start for Liverpool because Gakpo was better. Yeah, listen, that whoever that Liverpool fan is needs their eyes tested, man. Let's be honest, because there's no way Cody Gakpo is better than Rodrigo. And the thing is, I think Gakpo is actually a good player. You know, I don't think he's world class or nothing like that, but I do think he's a very good player. But to say he's better than Rodrigo, yeah, I think that's just Liverpool bias. Because I can tell you this for free. If Rodrigo comes into Liverpool, he's not playing second fiddle to Cody Gakpo. That's what I do know, you know. So Rodrigo to be back up for Saka. But again, Rodrigo doesn't actually play on the right. He only plays on the right for Real Madrid because of what I've mentioned. Vinicius Jr. and even Mbappe can play out there. If he goes to Arsenal, which is not going to happen, you know, it's to play on the left-hand side, not the right. And to say that he's back up for Saka, again, this is where the issues are. This is why Arsenal really will never amount to being any club serious. Because if you're an Arsenal fan, and Ryan Campbell, I'm guessing you are, if you think that Rodrigo should be a backup player for Bukayo Saka, again, this is why Arsenal will never improve, because the problem is you brought Noni Madueke in, and Noni Madueke is not going to push Saka out the team. And if Arteta brought Rodrigo to play on the right hand side, let's say, then he'll be a direct threat to Saka to push him out the team. You know, so yeah, this is the problem. Oh, Brahim Diaz is going to Fenerbahce. Yeah, I think Brahim Diaz needs to move on from there as well, because again, he's not going to get regular game time. You know, if Arda Güler can't even get game time, then Brahim Diaz is going to struggle as well. You know, guys, come on, we got 14 likes. There's 10 of you in there watching at the moment. Keep smashing that like, guys, and obviously make sure you sub to the channel as well. And again, keep giving me your questions and your comments. Big up yourselves. I think he would do an amazing job for Chelsea, as much as it hurts me to say. Yeah, listen, you know, I've said this previously on my streams. Rodrigo's ideal for what Chelsea. He's ideal. You know, I know they're trying to get Xavi Simons, you know, they've got Bino Gittins in, but I'm just not sure why they haven't at least made an attempt for Rodrigo, you know, because for me, Rodrigo slots into that team easily, you know. Imagine having a front three of Rodrigo, Cole Palmer, and let's say a Neto or a William Esteval. You know, that's exciting. or if you're going to play Cole Palmer from the right or William Esteval from the right, and you play Esteval, Palmer on the right, Esteval and Rodrigo or whatever. Listen, if you look at that team for the future, it's frightening. So yeah, Rodrigo won't get to play on the left when Madrid play a front three. Even when they play only two wide forwards on top, it will always be Vini and Mbappe. I 100% agree. As I said, not because they're better than him, but it's PR. And those two there, as long as they're there, Rodrigo won't be getting his flowers, man. So he needs to move on for me, 100%. He needs to move on. Big up to Nactis. Big up to Lewis says boo Liverpool. Yeah, listen, it's frustrating, Lewis, man. I understand, but listen, you can't hate on Liverpool as much as I want to hate on Liverpool, because the intent that they're actually showing, man, is scary. You know what I mean? It's scary intent, because I never thought I'd see them come out with Florian Wirtz and now Isak, and then they might get a Rodrigo if it's not Isak. You're signing the best players in the world. And yeah, Ekatike as well. So yeah, man, it's crazy. It's crazy business they're doing. Yeah, guys, come on, keep smashing that emoji hearts. Help the algorithms. Yeah, keep smashing that up, man, if you can. As I said, keep smashing the like button as well. Big up yourselves. Um, so Sham says, I've been on a run with all your votes and left comments. Yeah, bro, I've seen it, man. I've seen it. Appreciate it. As I said, man, there's some good posts on there. Um, as I said, it's designed really to keep people engaged in the channel. So if I'm not live, I'll always put some posts out. And again, there's been some good interaction there. The one that I enjoyed the most really was the Eden Hazard and the Mo Salah comparison, because I had a feeling that it was going to be tight because of Mo Salah. The numbers. Everyone just loves Salah for his numbers. Really, let's be honest. But that's why I said football player rather than who is better, because again, a lot of these things are subjective. But the one that was good as well. Who's the best central midfielder? I think Moises Caicedo, and rightfully so, he's heading it. So, but yeah, if you guys get a chance and you're new in there and you haven't voted, make sure you go onto the posts, guys, and check out all the posts. There's even some older ones as well. I think there was one in there, and I think Sham, you like this one. So I said, who holds the keys to the German national team? Florian Wirtz or Jamal Musiala? Obviously, Musiala's injured, so but he was winning it last time I checked. So yeah, if you guys get a chance, give that a check as well. So Sham says, Gav, was you shocked I picked Hazard with me being a Liverpool fan? Nah, bro, I wasn't, to be honest with you, man, because I know you've got great football knowledge. So, these questions here are just designed to get people thinking, because again, there's no sort of right or wrong answer. It's just people's opinions, and again, everyone has their own opinion. And for me, the best way to debate an opinion is just by talking on it, And as I said, I think the fact that you said Hazard, I kind of see, I can see the way that you see football. So it didn't really shock me, really, And it's not about picking a player because he plays for your team, etc. It's just being fair, Because if I was to say who's the best ever player to play in the Premier League, as much as it hates me to say, but it's Thierry Henry. It is, Henry's the number one for me. Because I was obviously, I saw Henry when he first come into the Premiership as a winger, and if anyone saw Henry when he first come to the Premiership, you would have thought, who is this guy? Let's get rid of him. And then he turned out to be the Premier League's best ever. And me as a Man United fan, and Arsenal being a rivalry back then, I had no reason to go and say Henry. But Henry is clearly the best player in the Premier League, for me. And that's when Henry and Van Nistelrooy were going head to head. Van Nistelrooy was an absolute killer in front of goal, but there was no way Van Nistelrooy was better than Henry. He wasn't, And whenever United played Arsenal, I genuinely was scared, because when Henry was on the pitch, that guy can just turn the game at any moment, You know, so this is what I'm saying, man. Thierry Henry was just unbelievable. But what I will tell you as well, it shows you levels in football because I know Henry was getting slightly a bit older as well, you know. But when Henry went to Barcelona, you know, you've got the Premier League's best player ever coming to La Liga, and from what I see of Henry, he just looked like another player because obviously he had Messi coming through, Etu was there, Iniesta, Xavi, you know, Yaya Toure. They had some serious players there. So it just shows you the levels in football because you got the Premier League's best ever player, but then when he goes to Barcelona, and obviously Pep wants him to play slightly rigid, you know, on that left hand side. Henri just looked like another good player. He wasn't special to me playing for Barcelona, you know. So it just shows you levels in football, really. But big up, man. Taha says for Britson News, Arda Güler 74 plus 4 million euros, Milan chief. So Milan won Arda Güler for 74.4 mil. Okay. I don't see that happening, but yeah, big up. Yeah, I heard about Isak going to Real Sociedad, his former club. And guys, I'm not sure if you guys actually know as well. Did anyone know that Alexander Isak used to play for Borussia Dortmund? So before he went to Dortmund, he was at a Swedish team called AIK, and then he went to Borussia Dortmund as a youngster. And I think he was there when Lewandowski was a number 9 there, I believe. So obviously he couldn't get ahead of Lewandowski, and then I think that's when he found himself at Real Sociedad. So yeah, mad. But again, Isak was rated when he was at AIK when he was like 16. They were saying he's going to be a star of the future, man. And I used to watch him at AIK, and you could see even from then the guy had some serious ability. You know, so it's not really a surprise what Isak's doing now, if I'm honest, because he was tipped for that. You know, and obviously now it's looking like if he does leave, it's going to be for the British transfer record. You know, mad. So Sazy Tadam says, you look like Sterling. Raheem Sterling, yeah. I've never had that one before, but fair enough. Cobb's modifier says Forgan Hazard. No, Eden Hazard. Obviously, Forgan's his brother, but the great Eden Hazard. Ryan Campbell says, gone are the days when Man United would buy all the good players. No, we leave it to you guys now to go and buy the likes of Noni Madueke. You know, I just can't believe Arsenal have actually sanctioned that deal. Criminal. It's actually criminal, man, that they've actually sanctioned the deal for Madueke. You know, and again, if Madueke turns out to be a star for Arsenal, I'll be the first one to hold my hands up and say, do you know what? Madueke, man, I don't rate him, but he's actually proved to be a good signing. But can I see that happening? No, I can't. So yeah, there's no chance of me being proved wrong on that one, man. Imagine if Newcastle reject 150 million, that means Isak definitely not leaving. But again, Gamer, Newcastle don't have to accept. That's the problem. They're rich anyway. And if Isak had like a year left on his contract, then I'll definitely go as far and say, look, he's gonna go, man, because he's got a year left on his contract, and you know, he obviously wants to leave. The fact he's got 3 years left on his contract, you know, and obviously they don't want to sell him. They're in the driving seat, really, because Isak can get unhappy all he wants. You know, I think, yeah, it's down to Newcastle. So, yeah, that's what I would say. Ryan Campbell says it's one thing buying all these players, getting them to gel, and keeping everyone happy is another. I agree, and just going on to Arsenal as well. I mean, I look at Arsenal's team now, and I mean, I think on paper, Gyökeres looks like a good signing because of the goals he's scored previously. But I just don't know if Gyökeres is gonna. I'm not certain if Gyökeres is gonna do well for Arsenal. I'll be honest, because if you look at the way Havertz plays that as that false nine, you know, Arteta might want to stick to how that to how he's been doing that really. And again, Gyökeres ain't really going to drop into midfield like what Havertz does and link the play like that. You know, Gyökeres is going to be goal hungry, you know, and he's going to be spend more of his time in the final third. You would think so. Whether Arsenal adjust to Gyökeres or Gyökeres adjusts to Arsenal, you know, I don't think it's going to be plain sailing in that sense. You know, I think if Gyökeres does get chances, you know, I think his goal record over the last few seasons will tell you that he's going to score goals. But then I just don't know if the way that Arsenal play is going to be suited to what he needs. You know, I just don't know. But big up, man. Big up to Wyatt as well. Yeah, big up, bro, for coming through, man. Big up. Big up to Ariane Witcher. So YYG plays, what is this live about? Just read the title, man. The title will tell you everything. Just going through some of the comments. So Safcon Wallace says Spurs will go one better and finish 16th, in my opinion. Bro, listen, I'm telling you this now, yeah? You see Thomas Frank, yeah? He's a very good manager. Like, he's very underrated for me. And, you know, they've just agreed a deal with João Palhinha as well, of Bayern Munich, you know, to sign him on a permanent as well, option to buy after the season. I'm telling you this now, that's a very smart signing, you know, because, again, he's defensive. He's got the legs in midfield as well. I'm telling you this now. I'm going to say Tottenham comfortably finish in the top half, comfortably. And I think under this manager, they'll be looking at pushing for top 6. You know, I think you look at what they've brought in. Kudus, he starts. Palhinha, João Palhinha, you probably say he starts. And if you look at that midfield as well, they've got Palhinha, Lucas Bergvall is a very good player. Basuma, Bentancur. You know, I think that quartet there of midfielders, you know, under Thomas Frank, Papa Matasar with the goal as well, great goal. You know, that quartet of midfielders, I think, is going to do well for Tottenham. And then you look at the players that can play in the 10, you know, you've got James Maddison, you've got Dejan Kulusevski as well, very good player. On the left, I think on the left is where they need to strengthen for me, which, again, they've been linked with Eze. You know, they wanted Gibbs White, who can play in the 10 on the left. He's now signed a new contract. But I look at Tottenham's team, Solanke up top as well. Richarlison, you know, can play from the left as well and play through the middle. Son, obviously, been rumoured to be going to America, whether that gets over the line. I think if Son does go, then I think they definitely go in for another player. They're back five with their keeper, Vicario, Pedro Porro, you know, Christian Romero, Van der Ven, Udogie. Then you got Jed Spence, Kevin Danso as well. You know, they've got, obviously, Archie Gray can play defence and midfield. They've got a very good core of players there. You know, and I think for Tottenham, they probably need to go and get a left winger, someone that is, you know, because Son's coming to the end as well of his time at Tottenham, I believe. I know Mattis Tell's there, but Tell's a bit up and, you know, I mean, he's a bit hit and miss, you know, more miss at the moment. So I think if they go and get a left winger and a striker to cover Solanke or compete with him, you know, they're going to be a surprise package, I think, you know, with this manager as well. You know, so that's one to watch, man. But that's a good signing, João Palhinha. Very good signing. Let's see. Big up to Tactical Blues, says, we are Chelsea and we're never going to stop. Yeah, listen. Yeah, listen, I just wish that my club would adopt the same approach. You know, Chelsea do this every summer. You know, they just end up just getting player after player. You know, I think it's safe to say this window, for me, I looked at it as Man City. When Man City signed Ait Nouri, Reinders and Cherky. I said they were winning the transfer window, definitely. And I think right now, as it stands, Liverpool have edged it with the sign of Ekatike. If they get Isak, the transfer window's over. I think that would be Liverpool saying, look, that title's ours. Even though I do think Man City are going to still have a say, and you know what I think as well, guys? I think if Isak goes to Liverpool, Man City will respond. If Isak goes Liverpool, City will respond. And don't be surprised if City respond with a Rodrigo. Because there's no way that I can see City allowing Liverpool to get Ekatike, Verts, Isak, Kirkez, Frimpong. And even though that they've got three good players, I still expect City to just say, look, we're gonna do something unthinkable, and don't be surprised if Rodrigo ends up at Man City come the end of the season if Liverpool get Isak. Because I don't think Liverpool get Isak and Rodrigo. I don't see that happening. But I think if Isak somehow goes to Liverpool, I think City respond with Rodrigo. Maybe with another player as well. So yeah, I think it's going to be interesting. But yeah, definitely Chelsea, man. They're definitely up there as well. I think the players that they've signed, João Pedro's a very good signing. I like the lap as well. Yoro Hato for me is one of the up and coming defenders for the future. Xavi Simons, I like him as well. But for me, they haven't signed anyone that I would say, damn, I did not see that coming. I like João Pedro, but the ones that I did not, the ones that I'm saying, wow, are the likes of Rodrigo, players like that. And again, there isn't too many players that are on the market that make you just think, damn, I didn't see them signing him. So, but yeah, they always spend money on players, and again, if they get rid of some more players, you can't fault Chelsea, man. As frustrating as it is. Toxic Fiery says, "Wait, you're into wrestling? Yeah, listen, I love wrestling. WCW, WWE, WWF, TNA, AEW. Yeah, man. Listen, I've been watching wrestling for the entirety of my life, man. Love wrestling. Yeah." Yeah. So Wyatt says, "What do you think? Do you think Gyökeres will succeed at Arsenal?" I think I've kind of answered this, Wyatt, but I'm gonna go through it again. I think everything tells us that he will succeed because the goals that he scores. But for me, I'm not too sure because the way that Arsenal play, I just don't know if it suits what Gyökeres is going to bring. I think if Arsenal start putting the ball in the box, which they don't really do as much, um, then maybe Gyökeres might have some joy. But I think it's hard to say at the moment because, as I said, the way that they've been playing, Kai Havertz is a massive part of that. And Gyökeres doesn't play like Kai Havertz. So unless Arsenal kind of change the way that they play to suit Gyökeres a bit more, then I just don't know if he's going to suit in with their system. So I think the jury's out on Gyökeres, but I think if we're being fair to him, he has got goals, and I think it's one of them things where, yeah, at this moment in time, I wouldn't blame anyone that says he's going to be a success. But I think at this moment, I think for me personally, I'm not too sure at the moment because I just don't know if he's going to fit into Arsenal's way of playing. Because as we know, Kai Havertz drops in a lot into midfield, which allows the likes of Saka and Martinelli to use their pace in the wide areas. But if Gyökeres doesn't drop in deep, you can't really get those wire players up the pitch. So it might be a different kind of a different style that he's going to bring. But who knows, man? I think first game of the season against United is what I'm looking forward to. And again, guys, I'm going to do a live watch along. I know some of you have been asking for the watch along, so I'm going to do a live watch along for that game. I think the big games, yeah, I might just do a watch along for that one. So yeah, keep an eye on the schedule to see when I get that sorted out. But big up to Burak Yedemir, Turkish brother. Big up. Lumi says, Walton said he wants to be in the Champions League one day. Could be an opportunity. Yeah, listen, I have no doubt that Adam Walton's going to be playing for one. Adam Walton is going to be playing for one of the biggest teams in the country. He will. He's that good of a player. Obviously formerly of Blackburn as well. But I think he's not going to leave Crystal Palace. I think he'll play European football. But I think after next season, he'll be gone. I think Man United, I wouldn't even rule out Man City, you know. Yeah, he'll definitely be playing for one of the top teams in the Premier League for sure, 100%. He's a very good player. And obviously he'll be playing Champions League, so yeah. Jude says, I'll big up to Jude as well for coming through, says, I'm starting to think that Arsenal bought Madueke for their left winger. But Jude, you know what? I said this when they first signed him, because you don't go and spend £52 million on a player to go and play, to put him on the bench, because he could have done that at Chelsea. So the thinking was, for them signing Madueke, I believe, is to play him as a left winger. Now that means Arteta is going away from what he's previously done, because as we know, he plays inverted. But for me, you don't go and spend that money and put him on the bench. However, if he is on the bench, I think serious questions have to be asked, because it would make no sense to go and spend that amount of money to put him on the bench when you've got Ethan Nwaneri that can play on the right and play as a 10. You've got players on the left-hand side already that are probably better than Madueke. And I'll go as far as say they are probably better than him. And then if you wanted to play in that position, then they could have just saved that £50 million, put a bit more on top, and gone and got someone that is better than Madueke. So again, I can see Madueke starting, which is crazy, So yeah. Yeah, listen, I'm not sure if Eze goes to Arsenal. If I'm honest, I'm not sure. I think I said this before. I think if Tottenham are serious, they just end up putting a bid in for him. I think especially if Son goes, I think Eze is a 10 anyway, but he can play 10 and play from the left. And the fact that they didn't get Gibbs White, I think them getting Eze, I think Eze is better than Gibbs White. So yeah, I can see that. I can see them going for him. If they put a bid in and test Palace's resolve, then why not? You know what I mean? Sham says he wants Liverpool to go for Walton next summer. Yeah, I didn't think of that. But again, yeah, that could be a possibility. That could be a possibility. Because if we look at their midfielders now, Gravenberch, McAllister, and then Szoboszlai, but I'm talking about players that can play slightly deeper, and Endo. But beyond that, there's not really much. So yeah, Walton could be a player for Liverpool. Yeah, it could be. Could be. Well done, guys. We've got 20 likes. Come on, let's keep smashing the likes if you haven't done so already. And obviously make sure you sub to the channel if it's your first time in there as well. Let's go through some of the chats before we wrap. So Jude says, is Walton looking for a move away? I don't believe he is at the moment, but he's gonna be in high demand next season, I think. Yeah, big up to Star Wars Duck. Yeah, big up. So Lumi says England's World Cup predictions. So Toxic Fiery reckons they get knocked out in the semis. I don't think so. I think England for me, if they meet one of the favourites, they go out. That's my opinion, because I think if you look at the quality that England have to choose from, You know, in terms of quality, it's very high quality. It's probably the best selection of players that they've had to choose from for years. But for me, when it comes down to play in the top teams, the Frances, the Spains, you know, Brazil, Argentina, you know, the South American teams will be tough. You know, if we're looking at the Belgiums, Germany, Hollands, Italy, I just don't know if they get past them teams. That's the honest truth. So I think when push comes to shove, you know, they're not gonna have what it takes. You know, in my opinion. So again, if they can avoid those teams, then you know they can go as they can go deep into the competition. But for me personally, I think if they meet one of the favorites, I don't know if they overcome them. You know, so yeah. Big up to Sitmas as well from Indonesia. Yeah, big up Bali in the house. Big up to A7E013. Um, so Jude says, is Son underappreciated? I wouldn't say so. I think with Son's best years are behind him now. You know, I think his combination with Harry Kane for Tottenham, you know, I think they were devastating as a partnership. And I think, isn't there a record as well where Son and Kane have got the most goals and assists combined? I think when setting each other up, I think there's a stat out there about that. You know, so yeah, them two together were devastating, and they were the core to Tottenham's attack. But I think, as we know with Son, you know, his pace is now wearing thin. You know, and I think with Son, it's one of them things where he for me, I think what's best for Son now is to move from Tottenham and probably go to a league where it's a lot less slower paced. You know, because his legs, which was what he was really, you know, known for, and his finishing as well off both feet. I think the finishing he's always going to have in terms of the way he strikes the ball off both feet, but a lot of his game was about his energy and his pace, and it's quite obvious that that's left him now. So I think personally he should be going to a lot slower league for me, and whether that's this season, I think within the next if it's not this season, I think it'll be next season that he moves on 100%. Yeah, I think so. So Daniela says, "What's the window looking like for Liverpool?" Yeah, listen, the window, Daniela, has been very good for Liverpool. As I said, it's to think that they got Florian Wirtz. You know, Florian Wirtz for me is one of the best players in the world. You know, when they got him, this is when I thought, yeah, Liverpool mean business. And then they topped it off with Ekatike, and now they're trying to go for Isak. And I tell you now, if Newcastle was to lose Isak, Newcastle will have to hang their head in shame, man, because it's like Ekatike, who they were going for, lost him to Liverpool, and now they've lost their main striker to Liverpool as well. Yeah, madness. Um, Gamer says City needs Rodrigo. Imagine Marmoush and Rodrigo and Haaland. I'm telling you, yeah. If I'm telling you this now, guys, and you've heard it here first, yeah. Let's say if Isak somehow ends up at Liverpool, do not be surprised if Man City retaliate and go and get Rodrigo. Do not be surprised. It might be Rodrigo. It might even be a player that we're not even talking about. But I believe City retaliate. I'll be very surprised if City see Liverpool have that window, knowing that last season was unacceptable, and they don't go and retaliate and go and get someone serious. I'll be very surprised. And as Gamer has said, Rodrigo, Marmoush, and Haaland, you know, Marmoush can play in the 10 and on the left. Rodrigo can play in the 10 on the left, on the right. Ryan Cherky as well in the 10 or on the right. Phil Foden in the 10 or the right. You know, then you got Savinho can play both sides. Oscar Bob, you know, who's back from a long-term injury. Jeremy Doku, I don't really rate, but he's a left winger. So I'm telling you now, there's things to watch, man. I think Grealish we moved on, so yeah, they're gonna be frightening. I think Man City, and I think they'll respond if that happens. If Isak was to go Liverpool, I reckon so. Uh, Big up to Spirit of LFC fans says, which football club are you a fan of in the Premier League and world clubs? World clubs. So Man United's my team, and I also like Barcelona as well. I think I've answered that so many times. Oh, big up Gamer, man. Gamer's already said it. Yeah, big up, man. Big up. Spirit of LFC fan says, who is better, youngsters, Dalman or Rio Ngumoha? I'll be honest with you. I've seen Rio Ngumoha up and close. You know, obviously, for those of you that don't know, obviously I play five-a-side, and obviously Rio and his brother's team play in our league. They're called part-time pros, and let's just say when Rio plays, he's very rarely on the losing side. That's what I will say, and he's a massive difference maker. You know, and what I would say, I think Dalman's what 15, Rio's 16. Rio's playing at the moment. He's playing pre-season football, just like Dalman. I think it's kind of hard to kind of compare them because one's a wide player, one's a number 10. So we can't really directly compare them. But um, who's more likely to figure in whose first team? I'd have to say Rio is more likely. I think physically he's got bigger as well, so he's probably a bit more physically ready than what Dalman is. Again, where Dalman plays in a position where that part of the pitch is very crowded. It's overcrowded, playing as a number 10. And again, he's got the captain Odegaard ahead of him. He's got Havertz who can play as a 10 as well. And obviously got Wanyeri, again, who's a 10 and can play from the right ahead of him as well. So he's unlikely to get into the first team anytime soon. And physically as well, I don't think he'll be ready. As I said, Rio plays out wide, and out wide you get more time on the ball, and you're in less traffic. So yeah, I'd have to say Rio. From what I've seen, as I say, I've seen him up close and personal. Um, I think Rio's got a big future, man. As I said, like he's got a very cool and calm head on his shoulders, you know, and the guy's been putting in serious work, man, to get to where he's got to today. So yeah, big up to Rio, man. Big up. Um, So JY815 says, I think Napoli will be a sleeper team in the Champions League. Napoli, Champions League. I mean, I think they'll win I think they're gonna win the Scudetto again. I think they'll win it again. Champions League, I'm not too sure. I mean, you'd think because of the experience that they brought in, the likes of Kevin De Bruyne, you know, obviously McTominay's there as well, Lukaku. You'd think that they might have a decent run in there, you know, Antonio Conte, but I'm not sure yet. I'm not sure yet. I'm not sure yet. But I think in terms of Scudetto, I think they'll win that again for sure. Uh, yeah. You know what, gamer. I see Barca's new kit the other day. Actually, yeah. I mean, Barca's kit really, it never really changes that color. You know what I mean? They just do like different designs. But yeah, I've always liked Barcelona's kit, to be honest with you. And their new one's nice, you know. And again, Yamal number 10 on his back now. You know, it's just looking even better. So yeah, man, they got a nice kit for sure. Right, guys, I'm going through a few more of your chats before we wrap up. If I don't get onto all yours, then apologies, but also been going for a little while, so I'm just gonna get through some of the ones that stand out. Um, so JY815 says, I think Kane has a great chance to win Ballon d'Or next year. Big up Toxic Fiery. Um, I think Kane has a great chance to win the Ballon d'Or next year. Now, if Kane's not winning no Ballon d'Or. Like, I can confidently tell you that now. And it's not because Kane isn't good enough, but the Ballon d'Or is based on multiple things. It's based on not marketability. It's based on PR. It's based on trophies won, and it's based on numbers. And for me, Kane consistently gets the numbers, but Bayern would need to win a Champions League. And again, Kane's PR isn't nowhere near some of the other players. So yeah, Kane's a very good player, but he's not winning no Ballon d'Or. That's for sure. I can tell you that right now. Wyatt says Yamal or Dembele for Ballon d'Or. Yeah, listen, those two are the definite front runners. You know, I mean, you could even put the likes of Vitinha in there, and even a Nuno Mendes. I mean, Nuno Mendes won't win it because there shouldn't be a fullback really winning Ballon d'Or. Vitinha, for me, is one of the best midfielders in the world. And again, these guys won the same amount of trophies as Dembele. But I think Vitinha won't win it because PR, and again, he's in the same team with someone like Dembele, who has got better PR, and again, he got numbers and won the same amount of trophies as him as well. So, but for me, if we're giving it to the best football player, it's Lamine Yamal. If it's based on trophies won, you know, and numbers as well, you know, because Yamal's got very good numbers, you know, but Dembele won that Champions League. So it's tough. It's tough. I think it's touch and go. I mean, personally, I'd give it to Yamal, but I can see if Dembele was to win it, I'd understand. And again, Yamal's going to win a few in years to come anyway. So it won't be the last time you'll see Yamal in this conversation for me. So, but guys, listen up. We've been going for 72 minutes. Big up yourselves each and every time for coming through. We got 21 likes on the channel, which is decent. Again, I want to try and aim for 30, guys. So whenever I go live, you know, mods, make sure you're pushing people to try and get 30 likes, you know. And as I said, big up yourselves each and every time for coming through. And again, guys, if you're new in here and you haven't subbed to the channel, make sure you sub to the channel, you know, and smash that like button if you haven't done so already. And I'm going to be back, possibly tomorrow. I'm not too sure yet. If not tomorrow, definitely Sunday. And obviously Monday as usual with Jonas. So yeah, keep an eye on the schedule. Keep an eye, put your notifications on to see when we go live. And again, guys, I will be putting some more posts out. So yeah, keep your interactions with the posts. Let me know your comments as well. And again, make sure that you guys keep voting. And it's appreciated each and every time. Big up to all the mods for coming through. You know, you guys make the channel what it is as well. And big up to all the newcomers that have come through as well and have supported the channel. And as I said, guys, yeah, I'll be back on either tomorrow or definitely Sunday and Monday. So keep an eye out. And yeah, you guys have a good rest of the weekend. And again, if there's any news dropping, you know, we will definitely be reacting. And as I say, keep your support coming. I think at the moment, guys, I'm on 1,262, I believe, you know. So again, yeah, it's going good. Obviously, we're going to just try and keep working, keep putting the content out. And as I said, man, yeah, just going to keep making it happen with you guys' support, man. It's much appreciated each and every time. So big up yourselves as well. But yeah, guys, I'm going to catch you guys in a bit anyway. Take it easy.